Hey everybody, this is Harvey Sluggo Wasserman back for the 196th Green Grassroots Emergency Election Protection Coalition Zoom call. We're going to do just an hour today because we want people to start making phone calls. We got 8 days to Armageddon, and we will have reports hopefully from Andrea Miller and Ray McClendon about what you can actually do aside from telling jokes in Madison Square Garden to check into this election, which gets more interesting by the moment. We are nonpartisan, so we do want to encourage Donald Trump to continue making high profile speeches out on the campaign trail. Donald, we believe in your freedom of speech. And anybody wants a little background, you should go see the movie The Apprentice. It's quite astounding, and I believe Jeremy Strong will win the Academy Award for his performance as Rory Cohn, but that's another story. Lynn Finerman, welcome. We're going to start with Anita Barrows, who's been brought to us by the great Dennis Bernstein, and then we'll have Andrea Miller, Ray McClendon. We're going to talk about Swap Your Vote, which is a really interesting dynamic, which I've been doing actually for quite a while. Actually, Daniel Ellsberg once yelled at me for doing it, but we'll proceed anyway. A band of sisters that we're going to hear from about from John Steiner. So we're all business today. But Anita Barrows, if you will, well, Dennis, did you want to please? Dennis Bernstein is with us, the great host of the Flashpoints show originating out of KPFA. We'll have 4 or 5 minutes with Anita. Then we're going to go to Ray McClendon, Andrea Miller, Kipchoge, if he's with us, John Steiner, to talk about Band of Sisters. And we're going to gear up and be hot and ready to go after 1 hour to the phones. I will be calling into North Carolina. You can pick your state, and we will figure all that out. Okay. Dennis, would you like to introduce Anita Barrows, please? Dennis Bernstein? Uh-oh, you're muted. Hold on. Uh,
All
there we
right.
go.
Can you hear me
Yeah,
okay?
please.
You okay?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So I actually decided I want to just make one or two brief comments and give it over to Anita because the work she's doing and the way in which she's documenting this genocide in Palestine is extraordinary. So I want to give it over to her. But I just want to give some advice. I'm interested in a couple of things now. In terms of the election, I'm interested in making sure Trump doesn't get elected, uh, that he doesn't steal the election if in fact he loses. And three, and this is for all my brothers and sisters here, we really have to join the fight. I'm, for one, tired of choosing right wing Democrats that can't rush fast enough to work with Republicans while they set aside all of us progressives for so long. And my advice, if you want the Middle Eastern vote, if you want Palestinians and Arabs to support Trump, don't tell them that Trump will be worse. Because remember, these are things that these folks are sustaining now. Every elementary school, daycare school, middle school, high school, college, university, you name it, they are all in dust in Gaza. There's not a single school standing. Everybody knows what's knocking them down. It doesn't feel good to have a 2,000-pound bomb dropped on your house twice. I want to lament the loss of my friend Ramsey Baroud's sister, a medical doctor with a clinic for the poor in Gaza, on her way to the hospital, was bombed into smithereens by one of those 2,000-pound bombs. This is a medical doctor. My friends, I talk to them on difficult lines, and they tell me about losing 3 and 7 members of their family, losing everything they ever had, kids that live 30 seconds so that lifetime is birth and then death. Anita, you've been doing an extraordinary job, better than any journalist I can think of, documenting this through poetry with imagery that skips the brain, goes to the heart, and then works its way into the blood system. Anita Barrows is one of the preeminent translators of Rilke. She's published, is it 14 or 16 books of poetry?
17.
She's 17. She's a psychotherapist for children. So Anita understands the implications of this kind of warfare. Thanks, Harvey, for allowing us to share Anita's work.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. That was very moving. We appreciate it. And Anita, if you could just give us a couple minutes, that'd be great. We are joined by Ray McClendon and Andrea Miller, and we're happy to have you, Anita. So go ahead, please.
Thank you, Harvey, and thank you so much, Dennis. So I'm going to start with a poem I wrote at 6:40 this morning after hearing the story that I tell in the poem. The father, in his white hospital coat, is bending over his little son in his white shroud. Warplanes fly among white clouds. Having taken this child, they are aiming at others. The father has taken an hour from his work with children at the hospital to be with his son one last time before the earth closes around him. And he, father, doctor, returns to the hospital to staunch the wounds of other children with white gauze taken from the bodies of yet other children who have died, washed in whatever water there is and in the tears of their parents.
Thank you for that. Very moving. Do you have one more that you can do quickly, and then we'll move on, but we appreciate this.
I do, thanks. This was day 366, the first day of the second year of the genocide. Don't say we are dead. Tell whoever you're speaking to that we walked the beaches, planted gardens, held one another's hands with tenderness on summer nights, watched our children grow, sang to them, bathed their soft bodies at the end of the day, stirred pots in our kitchens, stood at the window taking in the fragrances of herbs, waiting while the moon rose over the rooftops. Don't speak of our deaths without remembering that we lived, that we loved the sea, that we leapt with joy under its waves, fell asleep listening to its rhythm. Don't forget that we tasted peaches, strawberries, melons, and felt the sweet juices run down our chins. Did I mention the breeze, the rain, the first rains of autumn? The smell of earth when the rains dried, when sunlight illumined the drops that still clung to the branches. Say we took all this in. Say we refused to leave ourselves behind. Say we were alive the way everyone is alive, that we told stories about what we saw and heard, that when they murdered us, each of us bore a world away with us. But like the impression left in sand when one has been lying for hours under the sun, the shapes of our souls persist in the fetid air, the broken shadows, the shredded fields where we will not be forgotten.
No, we won't. Thank you very much, Anita. Thank you, Dennis. We appreciate it. It's a terrible time for war and all that it comes with it. So we appreciate that. Ruth Strauss, you have a quick hand. We're going to go to Andrea Miller and Ray McClendon, both of whom are with us. Thank you again, Anita and Dennis. Ruth, go ahead quickly, please. And
Thank you.
we're going to go to
Two
Anita.
quickies.
Yeah.
Two quickies. You can hear me, right?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. homework assignment. First, call the DOJ. Dennis always gives us important information. So do you, Harvey. But Tom Hartman today said that 2 drop boxes were burned, one in Portland and I think one in Washington, whatever, set on fire, quote unquote, blue districts. So to me, that's a federal thing. And I called the DOJ. I may call the FBI for the first time in my life. And is it, this will probably happen more, and it's terrible. So that's number one. Number two, if anybody knows a way to get in touch with the Kamala campaign, please let us know, because she has got to know that she has got to say more about compassion for the Gazans. And there, obviously there should be reparations by Israel rebuilding and all of that. F AIPAC. But the bottom line is she's going to lose a lot of votes if she doesn't clean up her act. So if anybody knows a way to contact the campaign, thanks. Bye.
Okay, thank you, everyone. We appreciate it. We're going to move now. As I say, we're just going to meet for an hour today, because in the second hour, I'm going to start calling North Carolina, and with numbers that I get from Andrea Miller, and I'm going to send some kind of support to RAY MCCLENDON, whose nonpartisan canvassing organization is building up the vote. So, Andrea Miller, can you tell us in your inimitable fashion how people sign up and what they should say in their phone calls and where they'll be calling? And if you'll put your URL up on the chat, that would be terrific.
All right. Well, hello, Harvey. Hello, everybody. What I am going to do is drop a link in the chat. Now, we are calling Black voters in North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and Alabama. And these are get out the vote calls. Because we are nonpartisan, we do not mention any candidates, and we do not tell people who to vote for. This is voting information purely. When early voting is, where early voting is, and then if we do get a voter on the phone, we ask them, what is their voting plan? Do they plan to vote early? Do they plan to vote on election day? A lot of people have already voted. Or are they, oh Lord help them, going to vote by mail? So anyway, our system has a full script. So when you go there, you will need to, number one, decide what state you want to call. Well, actually, when you go there, at the top of the page is a training video that will show you exactly how our phone banks work. We actually record it, walking people through, making a call, speaking with the voter, navigating the script. There are 2 kinds of phone banks on our site. SV is the easy phone bank. SV stands for a single voter household. So you won't need to try to navigate between, oh, good Lord, there's 2, 3 voters here. All I need to do is there's only going to be 1 voter. So when you register, and I suggest pick a state and call that state, new counties will be added. If you go to another state, you're going to have to register again. Each phone bank has its own number, so they're all separate. We work on a county by county basis because early voting is by county. So our information is very carefully researched. Our phone banks are very easy to use. They are open every day from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. local time for the state. So I'm on Eastern time. If I want to make calls after 8 p.m., I would then call Texas or Alabama because they're on Central time. So that's just some quick background about the phone banks. I'm even going to drop in the link to our training video. And here's the training video. Again, we have people over the age of 80 using these phone banks. They are the easiest phone banks ever. You will make calls from your laptop or your tablet. You do not need to use a phone. So just like we talk over Zoom, you would be talking to the voters over our system, which will tap into your microphone. You're muted, Harvey. Unmute.
So you're telling me I won't need my grandchildren to help me figure this out?
Nah.
Okay, good.
Mute.
Well, okay, everyone. So we've got the links. Andrea Miller's work is absolutely impeccable. How many phone calls have you coordinated so far for the 24 election here?
Oh, we have absolutely no idea because people call every day. Gabe may know, but I have no idea. I will tell you, I was in North Carolina in Charlotte this weekend, and on Saturday, we knocked 1,397 doors.
Wow, fantastic. Does
Yeah.
anybody have any questions now about how to do this? I mean, we're hoping that where we usually have the second hour, and next week also, which is a day before election day, we will do this again. We'll meet for 1 hour and then adjourn to make phone calls. We will probably meet the Thursday after election day to see, if our passports were in order and, or if we're going to be able to stay here. That'll be of interest. But nonetheless, does anybody have any questions? We are hoping you will all start making phone calls and where we usually talk for the second hour. Does everybody have access to the link that Andrea put in the chat? Lynn Feinerman, please.
Yeah, Andrea just put the note in, but I just wanted to tell everybody that there's a thing with Center for Common Ground called Callapalooza on Sunday, and people will be making calls together all day on Sunday, but Andrea just put it in the chat. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so everybody's cool. We all know what we're doing here. Well, we may actually be able to adjourn even a little earlier than we usually do, or even in the hour. Julie Levine, you've got a hand, and then John Steiner.
Yes, thank you, Harvey. If I can get this out in the chat box before the meeting ends, I just wanted to say that on Friday night, Topanga Peace Alliance is showing a series of shorts about Trump and where he stands on the issues that we care about. And we're doing this not just to preach to the choir, but we think it's a great opportunity for people who are confused or on the fence to be a part of it. And we have a discussion afterwards in which we have committed to not attacking anyone and people are to feel safe. So we're trying to do that to reach any last minute voters who may have a bit of confusion. And I'm going to go ahead and try to get that in the chat box in time. Okay.
Very good. Thank you, Julie. We appreciate that. But Andrea, she mentioned you have an event upcoming on Sunday, Ballotpalooza.
Callapalooza. Callapalooza is a phone bank that starts at noon and goes until 8 p.m. Eastern. And we will have hundreds of people on Callapalooza. At the top of every hour, we will have a guest celebrity that will come speak for about maybe 10 minutes. They might actually make a sample phone call and then we will all go back to calling. So there are 6 states that you can call, and I wrote them down: Virginia, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, Texas, and the 2nd congressional district in Alabama. All of our calls are to Black registered voters. So 9 a.m., 5 p.m., 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Pacific, yes. Noon to 8 p.m. Eastern, yes.
And remember, we're
And-
nonpartisan. We're not pushing a particular candidate. We're just pushing coming out to vote. North Carolina, Virginia, Georgia, Florida, Texas, and Alabama. Okay, great. And please be looking in the chats, everybody, and download the chat. I don't usually do that, but I will this time to make sure we've got the necessary
links.
URLs. John Steiner, Paul Newman, and Jim Nathan. John?
Yeah, Harvey, 2 things. First, who was it who wanted potential access to the Harris campaign on the Gaza situation?
Ruth Strauss.
All right, we'll put our email address in chat. Send us what you want to get through. We can't promise we'll do our best. And then Harvey, did you want us to say something about this band of sisters?
Yes.
Is this an okay time for it, or would you rather?
Well, Ray McClendon was going to present first. Do you have time?
Yeah.
Okay, if you can hang with us, please. Let me get through the questions.
And Sluggo, we also want to get to Jim before he has to go.
Yes, Jim, you're next after Paul. Paul Newman, can you let Jim go? I know Jim's got to go. Are you okay?
Sure, why not?
Jim Nathan, go ahead from Florida. I
Okay,
think
thank
that,
you.
the Gestapo is knocking on your door, so be quick.
Well,
please.
last week I shared with you that we were proudly #1 in book bans and a whole bunch of other things. Excuse me. And this week, we are #1 in Puerto Rican residents. And tomorrow there's a big meeting in Orlando to try to figure out how to get the word out. Almost 1.2 million Florida residents, 5.5% of the population, larger than New York's Puerto Rican population. And we've got to get the message out that the comedian wasn't just being funny, and Trump's reaction delayed wasn't unintentional. This is a serious opportunity for GOTV through this potentially October surprise accident at the Madison Square Garden.
Okay. Anything else you want to report?
No, that's the main thing.
Okay. And I understand you're going to be flying down to San Juan to pass out paper towels. Is that right?
I
all right.
learned-
Thank you for that.
I learned how to toss them.
Toss them, yes.
Yes.
I'm surprised they weren't doing that at Madison Square Garden. But thank you very much for that,
Thank
Jim. We
you.
appreciate it. Okay, Paul Newman, and then Ray, and then John Steiner.
Yes,
Please.
I just want to cite something that I heard a voter speak about on TikTok, where there's electioneering going on, where this woman wanted to go to vote, and she saw these 3 men standing, and they handed out. She asked them if they were with the election. They said yes. They handed out a ballot, and she read the ballot and realized that these were Trump supporters and they were electioneering. You know, and my question is electioneering legal near the polls? Are they supposed to be a certain distance? I know in California it's illegal.
It varies from state to state.
They harassed her, by the way, too.
There's no federal law on it. It varies from state to state. We had that issue in Ohio.
This is in North Carolina.
Yes, we had in 2004, the Secretary of State of Ohio threatened UN observers with arrest if they got within 100 feet of the poll. So I don't know what the law is in other states, but it varies from state to state.
Well, they harassed her. These were Trump supporters. When she went to the poll and she finally voted, and they were asking her who she voted for. I mean, I hope this is illegal in North Carolina.
It may be illegal, but that doesn't mean.
But she needs to report it.
Right. It
Thank
may
you.
be illegal, but that doesn't mean it'll be the illegality will stop anybody. So, you know, there we go. Okay, thank you for that, Paul. We appreciate it. Ray McClendon, do you want to give us now about what you guys are doing and
Sure. Well, right now, we over the past several days now, we've knocked on doors across the state from Atlanta, Clayton County to Savannah, Chatham County, Albany, which is Dougherty County, Columbus, Muskogee. We'll be going into Athens, Clark County, where the University of Georgia is. Later this week, Macon-Bibb County, which is about 80 miles south of the city of Atlanta, and continuing in those counties that I just stated. Additionally, we'll be looking at doing more parties to the polls events. On next Tuesday, we had several events, both parties to the polls on Saturday and souls to the polls on yesterday in various locations around the state. We have had Black Men Vote events, which include barbershop talks, going in to encourage young Black males to get to the polls and votes and addressing their issues. So we're on a full court press. The canvassing is the number one component right now. We're using a lot of young people across the state to do that. And it's we believe it's making a major difference. We'll be continuing to work on that using the data that we get from the Center for Common Ground for that. So it's a complementary effort. All of those efforts, along with the postcarding that went out earlier, the phone banking that's occurring, all of these things that are targeted to now in this last stages to the low propensity voters. We're trying to nudge the numbers in the Black community to get it up above the 30% threshold level, which we think will make a major difference and can make the difference in the election. So as we go over this final week, we'll be surging resources into these districts, where precincts where we know that these low propensity voters reside, where turnout has been deemed to be low, and working to get those up over these last 7 days.
Yeah,
Right.
now, people, we had a discussion, people were thinking of coming to Georgia, and we urged them to instead send their airfare to Communities United. Do you have your URL posted so that people can do that?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, we can put that in and look at it like this. If a ticket costs you $200 or $300 or $400, we can put several young people from those communities out in the community for a day doing canvassing, which is a much better effort for us, and targets those communities with people that they know. So that's what we're trying to do. It makes a huge difference from a relational organizing standpoint when there are people from the community doing the actual canvassing. So that's been our approach here in Georgia, and we think that's effective. So we thank you for wanting to come down, but it's a lot more effective, in our opinion, to have the local people out in these targeted communities doing the canvassing.
And was that you ran a picture there? Was of a bunch of young people? Were those canvassers?
I think Andrea put that up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That
All
was
right.
Steve.
So, what's that, Andrea?
That was Steve. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, Steve does that. Great work, Steve. We appreciate that. The LA Times ran a piece this morning about there are unions in Southern California that are busing people into Arizona and Nevada. I, it's amazing to me, but I think, I guess it's effective, and it's very interesting. There were some accounts of what people say
Let
at
me
the
just be
doorstep.
real frank with you about that. That might work in other areas of the country,
Right.
in other communities, but it's looked down upon, just to be real candid with you, in Black communities.
Yes.
People are going to come up to, go up to folks and say, where are you from? What are you doing in our community? Can we trust what you're talking about? There's just a lot of skeptical nature to unknown people walking in these communities when they have not seen these people before. And
Yeah.
that's just what you have to understand about the vestiges of being left behind, of Jim Crow and other things that work in the South that just a lot of people are not used to in these neighborhoods. So you have to be mindful of that cultural difference.
No, makes perfect sense. So please, if you're going to donate, please donate to these two nonpartisan groups, Communities United for Justice and Andrea's group, Center for Common Ground. That's great. You can also check out our website, usgrassroots.org. There are a whole bunch of good groups listed there as well. Okay, thank you much. Does anyone have questions for Andrea and or Ray? Well, thank you both very much for coming on. We've got 47 people with us, and we're going to go to the top of the hour. Was that Mila?
Yeah, sorry, I do have a question for Andrea.
Please.
I was contacted by someone who is a native Spanish language speaker, fluent in both Spanish and English, and she's particularly interested in making calls to people who only communicate in Spanish to help them with their getting out the vote. Do you have any need for such a person with those skills?
Not this year. We are calling 99% of the voters we're calling are Black and they are English speakers. We were hoping to partner with a group in North Carolina. We put up the phone bank for them. They have not come back, nor have they made any calls.
Okay, well, Andrea, Mila, maybe that union, if you look at I'll send you the LA Times piece today. Maybe you can contact that union that's sending people into Arizona and Nevada. I'll bet they'll be grateful for
Right.
that. That would make a lot of sense.
Right,
Especially
Arizona, Texas, or Florida.
right, because of this recent attack on Puerto Ricans, I think it might really be helpful to have some Spanish language speakers. Thank you.
Right. Excellent. Okay, very, very good. Ray and Andrea, it's always an honor to have you on. We also have John Steiner with us. John, do you want to talk about this group, sisters group here? It sounds really interesting, and certainly Ray and Andrea may want to know about it.
It's called Band of Sisters, and I'm going to let Margot introduce it. Margot, are you there?
She was. I saw her before.
I know. I may have to do it.
Okay, go. Well, you can start anyway, and then.
Andrea, were you saying something?
Oh, there she is. I think she's coming back.
Okay, Margot, are you on?
Margot King, you with us?
No.
I saw her name. But go
Harvey,
ahead, John. Why don't you
why
start?
don't you do? Oh, here she is. Margot, you're on for Band of Sisters.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Margot. Please.
Another one of these things for getting out the vote at the last minute that is wonderful and fun. And we're going to put it in the chat. You can go on the website. It'll take you about 10 minutes. It's not asking for money. It's just asking you to sign up yourself as a supporter. And the Band of Sisters is a group that is supporting women's reproductive rights. And we have been working with them. They are amazing producers. They're in LA. They've done a lot of great work. Look at this. Good work, gang. And so we're gathering celebrities, thought leaders, people across all fields. And the idea is to really push this thing out on social media at the last minute. So what we're asking people to do is go on, sign yourself up, send it far and wide, and you can use our cover letter. John, can you post that? John?
Well, Steve's got the posting here. He's doing.
Well, we wrote an email that is a nice way to introduce it to people, but you can do your own thing. And it's just a lot of fun. And there's also a band of brothers in support of a band of sisters. They're still going to dump a lot of other celebrities on there. We've got everybody, we got Sissy Spacek and her daughter made a video. Who's the father-daughter team, John?
I saw Jamie Lee Curtis up there.
Yeah, Julia Butterfly Hill.
Oh, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Jane Fonda's on board. There are a lot of people. And and these guys know how to amplify this mega times. Once you're signed up, you're going to get shut out on a lot of social media, and then it's going to get amplified and accelerated. John, say what you would add. Except he's not unmuted.
Oh my God. All right, here we go. I don't know how this happens.
It says only the host. Harvey, it says only the host can unmute.
It says join the band here.
Join the band. I don't have, Margot, you did a great job. I don't have anything to add. We'll put it's in chat, and another one will go into chat.
Beautiful. Oh, this looks great. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's growing a lot.
All right, Lynn Feiner, that might be something you want to pick up on your radio.
Harvey, the other thing I want to add, I don't know how many folks saw either Heather Cox Richardson's post this morning or Robert Hubble, but what yesterday's Madison Square Garden event did, obviously, was so engage the Hispanic community from Bad Bunny on down. And a lot of folks in that world came out publicly, I think, for the first time. So in a way, Richardson originally thought the October surprise was going to be the decline of Trump, but it may be the counterpunch from the Madison Square Garden event.
Well, again, we're nonpartisans, and I do want to encourage Donald Trump to please go out and speak in public as often as you possibly can. Yeah. We certainly, first, it's a great sleep aid, and but anyway, does anyone else want to jump in here? We also have one other thing to talk about of importance in terms of institutional approaches, which is the swap your vote. If there's, so I think Mike Hersh, I do believe someone was going to come on, but you know the issue as well as anyone. Mike Hersh, can you talk to us about swap your vote, please?
Yes, absolutely. And I do want to recognize people who are frustrated with our choices. We're going to elect one of two people. Those are the only two people who can win. This is a nonpartisan call. But one of the things that a good friend of ours, Russell Green, is working on is called Swap Your Vote. And Sluggo, you've done that. And what we do is we want people who are in a safe state like New York or California, or, well, if the MAGA keeps going, there won't be too many more safe states for them at that rate. Maybe Idaho. But the idea is you pair up with somebody who is going to vote for somebody who can't win in a swing state. And they're very angry at the choices, and you have somebody who is in a safe state like here in Maryland or where Sluggo is in California. And what we would do is pair up with somebody in Wisconsin or Michigan, Pennsylvania, or possibly Florida, the way things are going, but and Nevada, Arizona. There are a number of states that are going to be very, very close, and then there are going to be a number of states that will not. And so I just dropped into the chat, and the incredible Steve Caruso is showing the link, the website to the link, and it's a very, very simple thing. This is something that Jamie Raskin suggested in 2000, and Jamie wasn't as well known back then as he is now. If he, you know, were as well known then, we might have avoided a whole lot of unpleasantries, like, I don't know, 2 wars, 8 to 12 years lost to climate activism, and
Well, so let's explain it. If you want to, if you're in a safe state, I've done this a couple times. I have had the rare. I'm sorry to interrupt, Mike. Go ahead if you want, but
oh yeah, no, this is the way it would work. If there's somebody here from Arizona who is intent on voting for one of the second, third, fourth, or fifth party candidates, and they wanted to get together with Sluggo, and Sluggo would vote for one of those candidates, a libertarian, green, or whoever else. Sluggo would step up and vote for that alternative party candidate, and the person in Arizona would vote for somebody who can win. And we're not going to advocate voting for one person or another, but that's the way it works. And there's a good graphic there where you show California and Wisconsin. There's 3 easy steps. Steve Caruso doing his usual wonderful job presenting that.
And the great thing is that it shortcuts all the arguing that people doing. It's not just the vote, but you avoid all the angst and discussion. I do have the rare privilege of having been yelled at by both Ralph Nader and Dan Ellsberg for doing this. You know, when I lived in Ohio, I was way more popular than now. So, but you know, I've done it, and I swapped with a friend of mine on Martha's Vineyard once. I swapped with my sister in DC when I lived in Ohio. Now I live in California. I'm on the other end, but nonetheless, here we are. And it's a brilliant strategy because, you know, we're stuck with this Electoral College, so we might as well make use of it. And like I say, it's not popular with everyone, but we've noticed, and Mike, I think you've noticed, there's a lot less yelling and screaming this election about do we or do we not vote third party, blah, 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 because this is an obvious solution. And it really shortcuts all the crazy arguing about it.
Yeah,
Lynn, did you have a hand, Lynn? Let me see if I can unmute you. Oh, no, you didn't. Okay. Does anybody else want to comment on this? Did anybody need clarification? Mike, you did a great job of explaining it. No? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to say I advocated that PDA push for this in 2016, and one person kind of vetoed the idea, so we didn't do it. And now I really wish I'd pushed much harder for the idea, because it could have made a difference, definitely in Wisconsin, maybe Michigan and Pennsylvania as well.
Right. Jerry Toby has asked, how do you guarantee that both parties uphold their part of the agreement? You can't. And that's actually what makes it legal. If you exchanged anything tangible or signed an agreement or anything like that, you know, but if the feds ever come at you for vote selling or whatever, you say, you know, hey, prove it.
Well, the other thing is that Elon Musk is actually coming much closer to that line with his big Ed McMahon. You may have already won a Publishers Clearinghouse voting sweepstakes check. The thing is, those checks are not useful. I don't think he's going to give anybody a penny. I think that's how he's going to get out of a federal indictment for doing what he's doing. But yeah, how do you know for sure? Well, here's the thing. there's this concept called the prisoner's dilemma. You don't know if people are necessarily going to do what they promised to do, but this is how it works out. Say you don't vote, for, the other person doesn't do what they're supposed to do, and you do. It is a leap of faith. It really is.
Yep.
But what we are probably doing is making sure our votes count the most possible.
So there you go. And I have 3 words for Elon Musk: lock him up. And the other words is I will never buy a Tesla. But nonetheless,
And how about send him home?
Yeah, well, he entered the country as an immigrant and worked illegally.
Yes,
and then
he did.
Obama bailed him out. Obama bailed him out, and this is the thanks he gets, I guess, right?
Well, this is
really.
interesting. Elon Musk entered the United States on a student visa and never went to college. And then he started working without a work visa. And one of his co-immigrants, Peter Thiel, said, if we're going to work together, you're going to have to get a visa. And they helped him get it. But this was after he'd already been working illegally for months. So whenever they talk about undocumented immigrants, it's not about the documentation. It's about the skin color. I think we all know that.
Right. Well, listen, this is great. I just say I'm so relieved by the spread of this swap your vote proposal, because nothing really grated me more over the past few elections than this endless discussion of the third party vote. This really cuts to the chase. Thank you, Mike, for that. Okay, we're at 2:46 California time. Does anyone have anything else that they really need to jump in and discuss? Well, hearing none, as they say. Julie, it's great to see you. Are you in California out there? Oh, someone has the book, Alex Navalny. That looks like an amazing book, actually. David Sonnenborg is holding it up. Again, I do want to encourage Donald Trump to keep speaking out and do your dance routine. That was really, I'm sure that got you a lot of votes. All right, everybody, listen. We're going to do something we don't usually do. Hi, Salty. Dave Saltman's with us. How you doing? We are going to adjourn early on the condition that we start making phone calls. So if I can figure out Andrea's website, which I think will be easy. I did make one thing you got to remember. I did make phone calls recently for Pacifica. You only get, Andrea, what's the average? I mean, you only get like one live person out of how many phone calls? But I always let you leave a message.
We leave messages, unlike many other phone banks. And what we have found is 5%, or the messages that we leave people, that increases turnout by a little more than 5%, because we're telling voters where they can early vote when it's open. That's what's in the phone message right now. Harvey, you're muted again.
So it's county by county. So that's
yes. And the other thing to know about early voting is, remember, we're calling Black voters. Some of these voters are rural. Some of these voters are older. Early voting information is only available on the internet. They don't mail you things in southern states about early voting, when it is and where it is. You have to find out. So we are giving voters information that in many instances they just don't have. So scroll down, Steve. If you look at some of, he's showing all the phone bank training that we do. So there's training on Sunday, Monday. When you look at these, a number of these counties, Halifax, Lenore, Wayne, Edgecombe, Pasquotank, Nash, Wilson, these are rural counties in the North Carolina Black Belt. So these voters, if they don't have internet, they've got no way of knowing where early voting is or when.
Well, I will say in Ohio 2004, the Secretary of State's office posted incorrect information on their website. So
Yes.
we can get the correct information. And since I'm becoming North
That
Carolina,
link will bring you to a login page.
oh,
Click
sorry.
the button that says
Okay. Since I'll be calling into North Carolina, I'm going to practice my Southern accent, and I will lie about my true feelings about Michael Jordan. But other than that,
Call Mecklenburg, Harvey. Everybody, so many people who live in Mecklenburg are from somewhere else. So feel free to call Mecklenburg. And
okay.
you do not need a Southern accent. All Black voters in the South. That has never been necessary. Here's the thing that I always explain to people when I had Californians calling Alabama. Think of it this way. There is a country dance. Everybody knows where the dance is. Everybody knows when the dance is. There are some people who feel they aren't invited. When you call voters and you give them the information, that is your way of saying, please come to the dance. And we all know this year the dance is democracy.
Yes, we certainly do. All right, everybody, we're going to rock and roll here. We will be back next week. We'll also do a 1-hour session next week. It'll be the last day before the election. And you know, if you're not a churchgoer, please give it a shot this week. All right, everybody. Thank you, everybody. No nukes. We will see you next week. And thank you, Andrea, Ray, John Steiner, Mike Hersh for introducing these 4 important avenues to preserving our democracy. And thank you, whoever that comedian was, for your performance in Madison Square last night. Okay,
Apparently,
we'll see
yes,
you.
Sluggo, apparently they're going to have to use a giant sage to clean out all the bad mojo from Madison Square Garden.
They're going to have to open those doors. All right. Okay, everybody. We'll see you. Take care. Last time I was in Madison Square Garden, by the way, I saw Bruce Springsteen for 2 nights, 3 hours each, with the Muse concerts in 1979. A lot of good vibes. They weren't able to overcome all that. So there you go. That must have been what tripped them up. All right, guys.
That's right.
Take care, everybody. No nukes. We'll see you in a week.
No nukes. Born to run.
Go get your phone going.
Born to call.
Lynn, we'll contact you. It's Margot. We'll contact you. Got your address.